everyone, John Lorden here with another Brainscratch Searchlight. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This one being recorded for February 28th, 2018. And today's episode came directly from you guys. There were numerous brain scratchers out there sending me information, asking me what is going on with Dr. Timothy Cunningham. And this is a bit of a strange case for a missing persons case because it's kind of got this conspiracy theory that's being attached to it. Is that really fair or not? I don't know. We're going to touch on that aspect as well, but I really wanted to try to pull together the best information I can in terms of this being a straight up missing persons case. I don't know about the conspiracy theory angle. We'll see what you guys think about that by the end of this video. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started here. This is a picture of Dr. Timothy Cunningham, and he has been missing for several weeks at this point. I was a little surprised because quite typically when I do a Google image search on a missing person, I will see several missing posters for the person. I really had to dig a bit to find this one, and I've only found this one so far. If you look at the image results, you're going to see it's a big mix. There's people that are obviously not the same Dr. Timothy Cunningham that are mixed in with it, but you really had to go down a bit before you even got to the missing poster, which is just, it's a little weird. It's not quite normal for what I see in these cases. I'm not saying that to try to push this into the conspiracy theory. I'm saying that because I'm not sure that all the resources are really working on this as a proper missing persons case. Or at least working their best to get this information out. But let's take a look at this poster. So Timothy Cunningham has been missing since February 12th of 2018 in Atlanta, Georgia. He is 35 years old. 5 foot 11 inches tall, weight about 230 pounds, black hair, dark brown eyes. As you can tell, he is African American. Timothy Cunningham has been unaccounted for since Monday afternoon of February 12th, 2018. He was last seen at his workplace in Chamblee, Georgia. He returned to his home in the Bolton neighborhood of Atlanta, Georgia. And then, of course, if you have any information they want you to contact authorities, I found some different contact information I'll have in the description box below. You can either call the police department directly. There's other lines if you want to remain anonymous. And there are rewards on this case. I think there's at least a $10,000 reward for information on this case, but I think the family has also raised money on top of that, so I think they're trying to increase that reward as well. One of the things I struggle with sometimes is when I come to NamUs and do a search and I can't find the person, and unfortunately, this is another one of those cases. You guys know that frequently I'll just go ahead and jump in and enter the person myself, but I need the right amount of information to be able to do that. Otherwise, they won't turn the record on. I currently don't have that information, but let me just put the offer out. If any of Timothy's family is out there, you guys want to contact me to give me the information so we can get him entered into NamUs. This is a national missing persons database. It's very important that his record is here because they also have a counterpart to this database, which is unidentified bodies that are discovered, and they use systems to try to match those up and then do DNA testing to confirm it. So very important that he is in this database at some level. If the family wants to contact me to help me get this record in, please feel free to email me directly at John, that's John, at lordenarts.com. Lordenarts, just like it's spelled in the channel name down below. So unfortunately, no NamUs information here. Let's go ahead and move on to the Epoch Times. Atlanta area CDC worker went home sick and disappeared. And being an employee of the Center of Disease Control seems to be part of kind of the conspiracy theory angle of this, of how this story moves into that direction. Dr. Timothy Cunningham, a 35-year-old epidemiologist at the CDC in Chamblee, Georgia, went home on Monday, February 12th, telling his supervisor he was feeling sick. Dr. Cunningham had just been promoted to commander within the U.S. Health Service Corps. According to ABC News, Cunningham had been chosen to deal with public health emergencies like Ebola and the Zika virus. Obviously, some very high-profile, big health emergencies that he was working on. Dr. Cunningham's friends and family have been searching since he disappeared, canvassing his neighborhood, distributing flyers, and using social media networks. His close friend, David Calloway, told NBC News. Family members told NBC that they all stayed in close contact with each other. Cunningham spoke with his sister almost daily. Her last communication with the missing man was around 7 a.m. on February 12th. His father is also quoted here. He's pinpointing Sunday as being the last time that he had heard from him, but he was also concerned about the types of messages. Let's get his quote here. There were some exchanges via phone as well as text that alerted me to be concerned about our son, his father, Terrell Cunningham, told NBC. Unfortunately, not a lot of detail about what those text messages are. We're going to try to put the pieces together kind of with other quotes that we hear from family and friends of his and see if we can make some sense or get at least some type of feeling about what was going on in some of those messages. Jumping over to myagc.com, we can see a very nice picture of Timothy here. When they couldn't reach their son, a Maryland couple made the 600-mile drive through the night to their son's home in Atlanta. Timothy Cunningham's vehicle, wallet, phone, and his beloved dog were inside his Northwest Atlanta home when his parents arrived. So I think we can make a fairly safe assumption that he definitely left work, definitely went home, but somehow has left his home without his vehicle, didn't take his wallet, didn't even take his phone, which I've seen some conjecture wondering about, could he have used Lyft or Uber, some type of service like that? He didn't have his phone with him. Could he have possibly had another phone that we don't know about? I guess, but kind of strange to me he would leave his wallet behind. But their 35-year-old son was nowhere to be found. Cunningham spoke with his mother by phone at 7 a.m. February 12th, she told Atlanta police. After that, her calls went unanswered. When she called his job, they told her that Mr. Cunningham called out sick on Monday. Tia Wana Cunningham told police her son was upset about a promotion, and she was concerned about his behavior. Kind of strange. Typically when someone gets promoted, most people are happy about that. I don't know if maybe he thought that there was a different promotion that he was going for that he didn't get. Unfortunately, once again, we're getting just these pieces from the family and we don't have a lot of solid explanation. I would also offer, if there is any of the family out there that wants to come on the channel and help clear this up, we could certainly set up an interview with you to do that. Because I think part of how this conspiracy theory gets attached to this is when we have information gaps, kind of like we're talking about in this case. So it could potentially help clear some of that up. But at least we note here, he was upset about something and she was concerned about his behavior specifically. It makes me wonder, are we talking about a situation where he might have been discussing harming himself or potentially wanting to run away and leave everything behind or something along those lines? I don't know, but those are the thoughts that go through my mind when I hear that his mother was concerned. This article also has some of his backstory, so let's learn a little bit more about Timothy here. Timothy Cunningham was born in Montgomery, I believe it's Alabama, and lived in the Philippines from age 3 to 5 because of his parents' military careers, his mother said. The family later relocated to Maryland, where Timothy grew up before he attended Morehouse for his undergraduate degree. Cunningham later earned 2 graduate degrees at Harvard, at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. In November, the Atlanta Business Chronicle named Cunningham to its 40 under 40 list for his accomplishments. So a guy that is obviously extremely well-educated, seems to be doing pretty good in his job, except for this hitch that we're hearing that he's telling his mother he's upset about this promotion for some reason, but he's even being recognized by his community and publications in his community. So I don't know. Seems like a pretty nice guy, and I'm just wondering what is going on with this case and where he is. On Ontario Cunningham, his brother, has a quote here, and this is from AtlantaBlackStar.com. "My first mind is that something has happened. especially considering the length of time he's been gone. Not having his phone, leaving his dog Bo alone. He just wouldn't voluntarily check out like that, Ontario told Fox 5. I believe there's 3 children. There is also a sister, which we mentioned in the articles earlier. I don't know. I wish there was more detail around this case in terms of what he was saying to his family. So now we jump over to yournewswire.com, and this is where things are going to get a little into the conspiracy theory territory. CDC doctor who claimed flu shot caused outbreak, missing, feared dead. Now, let me just say, this is the only publication I've seen that has said anything about people fearing that he is dead. The authorities are not fearing that. They're saying right now that they don't suspect any foul play in this situation. You guys that have watched the channel for a while know that I get concerned when people leave their means of taking care of themselves behind. And we know that he left his phone behind, his wallet behind, and his dog, whom he loved very much. So it seems to me like there should be some cause for concern that he might not be in a great position to be able to put a roof over his head, make sure that he's able to eat. There's unfortunately, once again, for a typical missing persons case, we have a lot of information missing here. We don't have a solid timeline. We haven't heard from authorities that they've checked all his accounts and his accounts have been inactive, because perhaps he went to a bank or withdrew a large amount of money before disappearing. That would be pretty critical information for us to know out here in the public when we're trying to help with this case. But unfortunately, we don't have any of that. We have no ideas in terms of how he left his home. I haven't seen anything about investigators looking for cameras that might be local to his home. Like I said, no name is profile, only one missing poster. It just seems to me like there is a big gap in the level of help that should be going on with this case. But everyone is sure talking about it. There's articles being written all over the place about it, which is really, really strange. I've never quite seen this combination like this before. Jumping way down in the article, in January, Dr. Cunningham shared his opinion that this year's flu shot was behind the deadly outbreak of the flu, while warning that if his name was attached to the widely circulated quotes, he would lose his job or suffer an even worse fate. Understanding the dangers involved in speaking out about vaccines in the current climate, we granted him anonymity in the article. However, Dr. Cunningham told us we should go public should anything happen to him. So there's some things that bother me when I read this. First of all, they're quoting him, but they're not quoting him. They're saying that he said something, but they're not using his actual words. We find out, thankfully, that at least they're admitting that they're the source of where this is coming from. And I've seen numerous other publications that are talking about, oh, well, media is saying that he made this statement on this website about, vaccines causing this flu epidemic that we've been having this year. I don't know. I don't know if I really believe in the way that this information has been presented. I got to tell you, if I was writing this article, it would be his exact quotes. I would be talking about how we communicated with him. Did you guys meet in person? Was this over the phone? Was there other things that were discussed? But what we get instead is just this chunk of, I don't know. It's just my indicators start flashing when I see things worded in this way, and we're not given very good information about where this stuff is coming from. But they're saying that they are the source, that he told them this information. So before we jump over to the article where he actually supposedly is quoted, another example in this article that struck me was Big Pharma's dollars have effectively purchased the silence of the CDC and turned mainstream media into a branch of their PR department. You can no longer believe anything they say about pharmaceuticals, especially vaccines. And then, of course, they even quote or they try to attach this to the ongoing purge of holistic doctors. Now, if you guys don't know, I covered one of the cases of these holistic doctors. I was asked by a podcast to jump into researching that much more deeply. I found the source of where that theory was coming from. I did a different radio show where they actually brought the woman that was kind of the main person pulling this theory together onto the show. And I was on there as well, and we were able to talk about these things on a case-by-case basis. When you actually dive into the details of this supposed conspiracy theory about holistic doctors, many of those deaths you can attribute to other things. There's even some of those cases where people have been charged, and people that are not tied into anything having to do with big pharma. We're talking personal relationships that have gone bad, or attempted robberies, things like that. And a large number of these holistic doctors died of extremely easy to understand natural causes. People that were doing physical activity in their late 60s or early 70s. Yes, people do have heart attacks. It does happen. So this particular article, once again, this statement about big pharma's dollars you might believe that. I might believe that. Would I write it up in an article that is supposedly a news article? No, I would clearly label this as an editorial piece, but that's not what this is really being billed as. We have the author down here, Baxter Dimitri, who he's a writer at Your Newswire. He covers politics, business, and entertainment. Wait, he doesn't cover true crime? No, politics, business, and entertainment. I don't know, guys. I'm really, really struggling with this. And I'm telling you, this isn't about my personal belief. It's about how this information is being presented and the ripple that it has caused in terms of other media around this case. And just look at what it's done to our conversation here. We have a real person that is missing. We have details that we have to dive into, and these details are not available because most of the media wants to go in this direction in terms of covering this. Your Newswire. So this is the original article that came out back January 15th of 2018. And here is the actual quote, at least supposedly from him. "Some of the patients I've administered the flu shot to this year have died," the doctor said, adding, "I don't care who you are. This scares the crap out of me." I wonder, and I don't know, but I wonder how likely it is that Dr. Timothy Cunningham, working at the CDC as what they call a type of an investigator for major epidemics, how often is he administering flu shots? Something that an hourly employee at your local pharmacy can do? Why would they have someone in that kind of position administering flu shots? And someone of what I would consider a bit of a scientific mindset is really going to not talk about a sample size. Hey, I gave 100 people flu shots and 80 of them wound up dead. We're not seeing anything that is very convincing here from this quote, for me personally. So even when I originally saw this, and we're going to get into some further analysis on this, but even when I originally saw this, my warning indicators were just lighting up like crazy. CBSnews.com. Now we get an interesting point that might support that he thought something weird was going on. His next door neighbor, Viviana Torrey, says Cunningham said something odd to her husband the day he went missing. Quote, "He told my husband to tell his wife, me, to erase his cell phone number from my cell phone." Now, if you're in the conspiracy camp, that sounds kind of intriguing. And, oh, wow, he was worried about other people getting harmed, so he's trying to help them. Let me just say, having you erase his cell phone number from your cell phone would do nothing to protect anybody. If they were going to try to track down his friends, they would probably go get his cell phone, which he left behind. Or if there is some foul play here, they didn't even see important enough to take with them. They would go to phone records. If he was talking to Viviana so often, it would be in his phone records, or it would be in her phone records. There would be some way to cross-correlate those phone numbers. Removing a phone number from your contacts, it's not a very effective way to protect someone. So it's odd because when I hear that statement, I'm wondering if he's doing it as more of a statement about that he's not going to be around anymore. And unfortunately, it makes me fear that he might have been in the mindset where he was thinking about potentially ending his life. That is purely conjecture, but it's something that we have to consider when we're hearing a statement like this. Because like I said, if you're looking at it from a protection point of view, it's really not logical. It doesn't do anything to really protect this person. How is Big Pharma searching the contacts of everyone's phone out there looking for phone? No. If they were, even if they did, let's go into this conspiracy theory for a minute. Even if they did have access to, let's say, NSA level information, they're going to go for the phone records. They don't go to the contacts. That is just, it's such a weak link in terms of that trying to be some protective thing. And outside of that, let's also consider this quote is coming from a woman who's saying her husband told her that. So we're getting kind of a second, if this was a game of telephone, we're not talking to the original person that heard this. We're talking to that person's wife. Why couldn't CBS have contacted him directly and gotten the information straight from him? I don't know. Might have been a little bit different. Might have been exactly the same. We can't tell, unfortunately. A little bit further down in this article, we get another quote from his father. He has such a history of being so responsible and dependable that I think that's what puts us all in such disbelief, Terrell said on CNN. Police do not suspect foul play, but they also say they're exploring all possibilities. Cunningham's family is pleading for the public's help. If anyone sees anything that's related to or think you have seen Timothy, please call the number, Terrell said. The CDC released a statement saying, Dr. Cunningham's colleagues and friends at the CDC hope that he is safe. We want him to return to his loved ones and his work, protecting people's health. Jumping over to WNCN.com, worried friends of Cunningham have joined in to help by canvassing the area and setting up a GoFundMe page to increase the reward for information. The goal was $10,000, and they've already doubled that. And we will finish off today's review with Heavy. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I really like the coverage that Heavy does because they really try to source the best information. They talk about discrepancies that they find in the information that's out there. This is another point that kind of gets thrown in with this conspiracy. It's possible things at the CDC were a bit stressful since the head of the CDC, Brenda Fitzgerald, had just resigned on January 31st after a report revealed that she had purchased stock in a tobacco company after taking the job. But family and friends have made no indication that this affected Cunningham's job personally. Might have not affected his job personally, but I'm wondering if he was concerned, like if maybe he had also purchased some stocks in some companies that maybe work against the health of people. If he was afraid that that information was going to come out, maybe that was a stressor to him in some way. We also find another interesting point down here. His phone, wallet, credit card, and keys were locked inside the house. Now, in terms of things that I think should be considered by police departments about someone's safety, if their keys are being left behind and they've locked them inside the house, that is extremely odd, and that should be an indicator, maybe not that foul play is necessarily involved, but that there is something wrong here, that that person is more at risk. Just the logic behind it. How's he planning on getting back in? If he left, why would he leave all of his personal items there, including the things that he needs to get back to those personal items, his keys? His SUV was parked at his home, and his beloved dog was still inside his house. This was absolutely not in his character. Cunningham had even driven 130 miles to Tuskegee, Alabama, just to get the dog's teeth cleaned. He just wouldn't have left the dog alone like that, his parents said. Another strange thing they noticed was that 2 of the windows in his home were left open. This alarmed them, they told NBC, because it was very out of character. He was very environmentally conscious and wouldn't have normally left those windows open, they believed. Once again, I don't know what that would necessarily mean. If he knew that he was leaving and he was afraid maybe of the dog being locked up in the house, maybe he left those windows open so someone would have a way to get in there, or at least to notice that the dog was in there. Maybe he left them open so people could hear the dog barking. I don't know. It does seem a little bit strange. And Heavy has done some of their own analysis in terms of that news report that I read earlier from your Newswire. Unfortunately, Cunningham has already become the target of a fake news hoax story. Your Newswire published a story on February 22nd claiming that Cunningham had told them the flu vaccine was dangerous and to go public if anything happened to him. They gave nothing to back up that claim. In fact, Your Newswire is known for attaching outrageous quotes to people. They have a particular example here. In November of 2017, for example, they claimed that Keanu Reeves said Hollywood elites drank the blood of children. Later, they took down the story and pointed the URL to a different article. In fact, Cunningham has spoken positively about vaccines in the past. You can listen to a short 2-minute podcast he gave in 2011 where he encouraged children to get the flu vaccine. Cunningham's father later addressed the rumor, quote, "I must address this issue. It is a lie. It is not factual. Hopefully he'll come back and be able to address that." And I certainly hope he is able to do that also. Friends said Cunningham is reliable, happy, and positive. He has a pristine record, one friend said, and is always available to meet friends for dinner or to help them move furniture, whatever they need. His friends said he was smart, caring, and liked giving hugs. Now they just want to find him and give him a hug right back. We are getting a little discrepancy on his height and weight here. In this article, they're saying he's actually 6 feet tall and weighs about 200 pounds as opposed to 5'11" and 230. Bit of a minor discrepancy. Black hair, brown eyes. He might have left his home wearing his work uniform, but his family isn't sure what he was wearing when he disappeared. So once again, just in terms of basic information for missing persons cases, we don't know what to expect him to be wearing, even if you did bump into him. The police have his phone and are investigating it for clues. It is not known at this time if he used Lyft or Uber that day. I suppose that he could have called for the ride and then left his phone and gotten in the car. When he got dropped off, they would still just charge his account. So perhaps he wouldn't have needed his phone in particular for using Lyft or Uber. Police have talked to neighbors and had searched the woods behind Cunningham's home with a dog on Friday, February 16th. There have been no confirmed sightings of Tim. A group of his friends have suggested on social media that interested parties should keep an eye out for areas near where he would sometimes frequent, including Piedmont Park, Garnet MARTA Station, Centennial Park, the general downtown area, Midtown, and the in-town Ponce corridor, especially Vahai and Ponce Highland. So I just definitely wanted to get those areas mentioned as well. And this is where I turn it over to you, Brain Scratchers. I don't know what's going on with this case. I don't know why the coverage is getting so skewed to this conspiracy theory angle. In a lot of instances, I say that the more press, the better. You're getting his face out there. It's being seen by people that can hopefully, if they bump into him somewhere, recognize him. But in this case, with an article like that being out there, I don't know how helpful it is, because the conversation is not revolving around the real facts that we need clarification on. A sturdy description, first of all, of his height and weight, possible description of his clothing, even if it is his work uniform. What is that? Are we talking like a military type uniform? Can someone provide us with a picture? Can we get a NamUs profile put together on this guy? Can we get a timeline of where he went leading up? I mean, where did he go before he went to work that day? We might even rewind for a few days before he actually disappeared, just to try to see if there was something about his pattern of behavior that had changed, or if he had met with someone. We don't have any of the pertinent details for what I consider a typical missing person case being presented here to the media. And that is really tough, because we have very few pieces to work with in terms of trying to help find Timothy. But as we hit right at the end of this video here, we have particular areas where we should be hopefully getting eyes out there. And if you have friends in the Atlanta area, please share this video with them. Let's try to raise exposure to this, and let's try to get some meaningful dialogue around helping this case and a little bit less of this conspiracy theory angle. Look, I'm not saying that that theory isn't true. I'm not saying that Big Pharma doesn't have ways of manipulating situations. I'm just saying what we have right here is a straight up missing persons case that is not seeming to get the same type of help that I see other cases get, and I'm kind of frustrated by it. For the amount of coverage that's going on with this case, where is the reporter to really dig in and to help clarify just some of the basics of a missing person case? And if I can do that with the family's help, please reach out to me and we will absolutely make that happen. I think it's important that we try to bring some much more clarity in this case and try to figure out what is going on and where Timothy might be. Thank you so much for caring about these cases like I do. I can't do this without you guys out there, and I appreciate each and every one of you that watches these videos and shares them. Please come back to the Lord and Arts channel tomorrow for more. Take care and have a good day.